Hey, what's your self talk? This is Jabari here with another episode of What's Your Self Talk. If this is your first time, my job with this podcast is to ask you that question, what's your self talk, so that you can challenge yourself in your personal or business life by applying that question. And so I always bring information and ideas that's going to challenge you to think about your self talk. So today, I want to talk to you about, I believe, the importance of accountability and building you people around you that's going to help you in get towards the direction you're going. And I specifically thought about this topic today because I finally have pushed past all my frustrations and even some fears, to be honest with you, and just joined a challenge, and also looking forward to staying on board with them to have more accountability and having more of a coaching setup. And so before I get into the details of who and what that is, I want to talk about what made me come to this decision. When you, as an individual, decide that you have certain goals that you want to accomplish, that you want to obtain, you have to realize it's only so many people around you that are ever going to fully understand what you're reaching for and what you want to accomplish. And so I have very big goals. I have very big ambitions for my family, and I want to do everything within my power while I'm on this earth to make sure that I fulfill those things while keeping in perspective the responsibilities I have. One of the things that I've always wanted to be careful of, I don't want to go hard in business and life and, just let everything else dwindle. I want to make sure that I want to make sure I'm keeping in perspective everything in area of life. And so I was reading a book by Napoleon Hill, and it was talking about, I believe it's how to own your mind or how to own your brain. But one of the things that they were talking about is the main people who have made it far in their lives and who've had a lot of success have followed a certain way of living. And that certain way of living started first off with their definite purpose. So they've understood what are the things they want to define, what are the things they want to do, what is their definite purpose. And after they have defined that in whatever way they have chosen, then you say, I need to work out a plan. Now I have a plan that I need to execute. And then from there, he talks about mastermind alliances. And he talks about this because when you know what your definite purpose is and you have a plan, then you need to get around those people who are real similar and who's maybe a little bit different, but who also have their own definite purpose. Because you find that these are the people who are living with more purpose. These are the people who's living with more understanding. And these are people who have more self-awareness, because you have to be honest with yourself. If you're holding yourself back and you have a weakness that's holding you back, like one of the main things for me that I know that really holds me back, that I am a super emotional person. And that is, nothing is wrong with emotions, but the thing about emotions is that it should never drive you and why and how you do things. And the reality behind that is, if you don't know that, if you don't know that about yourself, well, it can hurt you. But for me, I know and I'm aware of that if I allow my emotions to dominate me, that I would never accomplish all the goals. I would never be able to do anything, because I would just always go based off my feelings. And that's one of the things, when you know what you're aiming for and you have a plan and you get around these other people, then you can say, hey, I need you to hold me accountable for this, because I can see this is one of my weaknesses. And if I don't work on this, then this is the thing that's going to ultimately hold me back. And that's a huge thing of self-awareness for you to understand this is the thing that's holding me back. And so I have, in a way, has been looking for something or some group or something to join to help me and propel me in that direction. And I've actually quoted from the president of his company in a couple of podcasts back, Grant Cardone. Yeah, Grant Cardone is a very, very successful guy in both his business and personal life. And I have followed him for quite some time. And one of the things that I appreciate about him is that he's 100% honest. And he's honest to the point where he also have the results because of the way he have lived. And that's huge for me. I don't want you to give me advice, or I don't want to even give you advice if I have not been able to live it out. And he started a 10X challenge. 10X is just one of the things he is a multiplier, but he is known for that because he's said in anything and everything you do, you should do it to, not one, not two, but 10X degree, 10X amount of effort, as far as when you think you should do everything you think you should do on a goal, you should 10X that effort. So if I believe that from a sales perspective, I needed to make 10 calls in order to, get the end results that I want, you need to 10X that. So, hey, What's Your Self-Talk? Jabari is here from What's Your Self-Talk podcast. And listen, I want you to download Anchor right now, because chances are you're listening to this and you're saying, I got some things I want to share. I have some things that I've wanted to put in the podcast form. Here's the opportunity. Anchor is free. You can do it from your phone, and you can be on all the different podcast stations, all in one app. Okay. So what I need you to do is stop waiting for the perfect time, analysis paralysis. Do it now. You'll thank me later. What's your self-talk? So I love Grant Cardone for that 10X challenge that he's put together, because now it is really a great opportunity to get around other people who want to be able to accomplish more, who want to be able to do more. And it's a free challenge. It doesn't cost anything. It just, if anything, costs your time. And one thing that I've always admired from Grant is he has said a lot of things that always stuck with me. And one of them has been, it does not take money initially to get what you want. It really takes time, energy, and effort. And most of the time, it takes more time, energy, and effort than you think initially. So take the 10X equation. So the original energy that you think you need to use, you need to 10X that. So if you think you need to only do this much, then you need to 10X that effort and saying, I need to put much more energy and effort into whatever I'm doing in order to get to the results I want. One of the things I want with this podcast is to be able to reach more people and encourage people and get the word, what's your self-talk in your mind, so that you can start thinking about, what is my self-talk? What are the things I need to change and I need to get better at? And I'm constantly challenged to make sure that I get it out at a good, consistent time and stay up late or whatever it needs to do. Whatever I need to do to make sure that the effort is there. And so it's going to be improvements over time on how I get better with recording the podcast, and it will look much more better. But in the beginning, it's what I have right now and what I'm doing to continue to put that information out there. So that's just a small example, but it's that type of thinking that allows you to understand what are the things you need to work on to get better. And so Grant have done a good job at just opening my eyes to that. And the people that he have around him also have been successful because they have followed that same advice. And so within a challenge, all it is, you are going on to a live Zoom call, or you go on YouTube and you're going there have some very valuable tools or information that they're sharing with you so that you can be able to apply to your business, to your personal life, and to your personal goals. And he usually have special guests that come on, and it's all through Zoom. So it's Zoom or YouTube. So it's all over your phone. And you get a chance to listen to how they've overcome some of the topics of the day and how they have accomplished that and how they've made success, and have some great people on there so far. None of them I knew before. And maybe it was one guy because he's part of the owner of one of the NBA teams. And some of the people that's coming up soon, I know as well. But it's good to be introduced to different people in different sectors of business to understand how they got to where they got into. Because at the end of the day, when you think about accountability, you need to get around different people. Sometimes your families and the friends you have don't have the same goals that you have. And it's okay, but you need to start saying, what are the things I need to do to separate myself to get to the point where I know God has put me on this earth to be able to accomplish. And in order to do that, I have to start surrounding myself around those people, whether it's more on a virtual perspective or a personal perspective. But either way it goes, start with where you're at. And so that's how I view this challenge. And this is why I love it and enjoy it, because it really is something that I've known that I need to do. And it just really came at a time where I'm like, okay, it's time to move forward and do something and stop thinking about it. So that's my self-talk, right? And so one of the things I challenge you to do is you'll see some things that come on my social media that's going to be talking about this along with this podcast, but look into it, listen to it, and see exactly what I mean. And one of the things I'm just be interested in knowing is, when you listen to that or when you hear what he's saying, what did you hear? Now, I've known this guy, Grant Cardone. He known as to be somebody who's very unlikable person because how he goes about things. He can sometimes have a foul mouth. But I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of the information that he's sharing is missed because of the surface level things that he do. And a lot of people, if you're surface level, you can't see past that. And that's what I think is one of the problems why so many people have not gotten to the point of life that they want to get to, because they're so surface level. And so what I challenge you to do is find a form of accountability for yourself. Step outside your friends and your family members and start reaching out to people and seeing people who are having similar goals to you. And the only way you're going to know if they have similar goals, because they may be out there or putting themselves out there, as whether they're sharing information on social media or however they are exposing themselves to see, oh, well, that individual seems like they care about parenting, or this person seems like they care about growing their family business, or this person thinks about, their relationship with God and how to deepen that. So when you see people like that and they are practicing in that area, then you are likely to be drawn to them because you're curious. You want to know more about it. And so that is a form of surrounding yourself around those people, whether you are directly or indirectly communicating with them. So I just challenge you, find a form of accountability that you can stick with and that that's going to represent the part of you that you don't want to suffer. And I hope you take this serious when you start thinking about, what are you here for? Why did God put you here? And what is your self-talk on protecting that? Because when you don't protect it and when you just let life happen, then you look back and have many regrets. And that's the biggest thing for me when I think about this podcast. I think about my wife, think about my sons, and I think about what are the things that I need to do better to provide for them, to be there for them, and to give them the experiences that I wanted to be able to have. And that's constantly going to change over time, but to put myself in a position to make sure that how it change is according to the plan that I do have, Granted, God have something else, that's fine. But according to the plans I have, then that's my job to do that and put myself in that position. So I encourage you to start thinking along those lines. What are the things you need to do? Do you need to join the 10X challenge? Do you need to find your own challenge? How can you challenge yourself? How can you challenge to find new people to start having conversations with and to surround yourself with? And I'm interested in knowing your self-talk when you heard this. So as always, I thank you for listening. I thank you for taking a time in your day to tone on Jabari Self-Talk. What's Your Self-Talk podcast? And once again, if I'm not challenging you and if I'm not giving you information that's going to pull you and stretch you to the potential you have, then guess what? I'm just not doing my job. So thank you for listening. And as always, you know the question I'm going to ask you. What's your self-talk?